My wife cheated with a neighbor. After I saved for her surgery, so I walked away silently and left her to live with regret forever. I'm a 32-year-old guy and I thought I had it all figured out. 6 years ago, I married Anna, the woman I believed was my soulmate. We weren't some glossy Instagram perfect couple. Our wedding was in a small community hall, our honeymoon a road trip in my beat-up pickup truck. But we were a team. At least, that's what I told myself every night when I came home exhausted and saw her curled up on the couch, waiting for me with a smile. We met during one of the roughest periods of my life. My father had just passed, my mom was drowning in debt, and I was working 60-hour weeks at the garage to stay afloat. Anna came in for a simple oil change. She stayed because she said she liked the way my hands fixed things without me even noticing. We bonded over that. Me fixing cars, her finishing her degree while working as a part-time receptionist. We used to joke that we were both projects under construction, but we were building something together. I promise, no matter how hard it gets. "I'm not going anywhere," she whispered one night when I confessed my fears of being just another broke guy she'd get tired of. I remember the way her fingers traced little circles on my arm. "We'll never give up on each other." Those words were a lifeline. We didn't have much. But we had a rhythm. I'd come home covered in grease. She'd hand me a glass of water. We'd eat whatever we could afford and talk about our dreams. She had a minor heart condition, but it always felt like a background hum, something we managed together. Like everything else, or so I thought. Lately, when I look back, I can't stop wondering if the first cracks were already there, hidden behind that quiet smile. The day Anna's cardiologist used the word surgery, I felt the ground shift under me. Her condition, something we'd always managed with meds and checkups, had quietly worsened. The doctor was calm but firm. "It's not an emergency yet, but it will be within a year. The procedure is expensive, and your insurance only covers partial costs." I held Anna's hand in that sterile room while she blinked away tears and nodded. I nodded too, but in my mind I was already doing math. Rent, bills, groceries. The little savings we had wouldn't come close. The moment we stepped out of the hospital, I knew what I had to do. That night, I told my boss I'd take any extra hours. Weekends, late shifts, early mornings. I canceled my monthly poker night with the guys, stopped ordering takeout, sold my motorcycle, my only luxury. I never told Anna about the details. I wanted her to rest, not worry. Instead, I kept it quiet and let the exhaustion pile up behind the scenes. I told myself it was worth it. Because one day I would walk in, hold out that envelope and say, "It's handled." That day came 8 months later. I handed her the envelope, $9,000 in crisp bills and some wrinkled 20s. She opened it, confused. When she realized what it was, she broke down sobbing. "You're my hero," she whispered into my chest. I cried too. For once, it felt like all the sacrifice had meaning. We made love that night like we hadn't in months. I fell asleep thinking, this is what real love looks like. But the days that followed were different. She was distant, quieter, her touches shorter, her smiles more distracted. I told myself it was just nerves about the surgery, just stress, just fear, but deep down, something small and sharp had started to scrape at me, and I was too tired to look at it. About 2 weeks after I gave her the surgery fund, Anna started going on these long evening walks. At first, I didn't question it. She said she needed the air, needed to clear her head. Sometimes she'd come back with a pint of ice cream or a tiny plant from the shop down the street. "Just wandering," she'd say, dropping her purse on the table and kissing me on the forehead. Then it became almost daily. Around 6:30 p.m., just before I got home, she'd slip out. I'd come into a cold stove and a text, "Out for a walk. Be back soon." I didn't want to be the clingy husband. So I brushed it off, but then I started noticing she'd swing by Jason's place, 2 houses down, more than she ever used to. Jason was a recently divorced guy, about our age. He used to be quiet, kept to himself mostly. We'd invited him to a couple neighborhood BBQs back in the day. He and Anna always got along, same dry sense of humor. I never thought much of it. Then one night I was out in the garage late fixing a client's old engine when I heard laughter through the open kitchen window. Anna's laugh. Not just a chuckle, but full-on giggling. Playful, flirtatious. I peeked around the corner. She was standing on the porch, phone in hand, texting. Her face glowed in the screen light. I watched as she typed something, smirked, then looked down the street toward Jason's house. Later that night, I saw her phone light up again. Just a quick message. The contact name was simply Jay. I asked casually, "Hey, who's Jay?" She barely looked up. "Jason. He sent me this stupid meme. Want to see?" I smiled and nodded, but my stomach twisted. It wasn't the meme. It was the speed of her answer, the ease, the too practiced tone. Still, I forced myself to trust her, because if I didn't, I'd have to admit something I wasn't ready to believe. While I was busting my back at the shop, 12-hour shifts, grease up to my elbows, skipping meals to afford her medication, she was slipping into another man's arms. I just didn't know it yet. I'd wake up before dawn, chug bad gas station coffee, and work through the kind of exhaustion that makes your bones ache. I missed birthdays, skipped hangouts, sold my motorcycle for her, for us. I thought I was building something worth protecting. Meanwhile, during those very hours I was grinding to save her life, she was walking to Jason's house. One Tuesday, the shop had a last-minute cancellation. I left early, a rare break, thinking maybe I'd take her out for lunch. Surprise her. I pulled into the driveway around noon. The house was silent, blinds half drawn, but as I unlocked the front door, I saw movement through the side window. The backyard gate creaked. Anna slipped in, hair up in a messy bun, shirt buttoned wrong, her face flushed like she'd been caught mid-sprint. I blinked. "Where were you?" She froze, then smiled too fast. "Oh, I was gardening out back." I looked down at her hands. No dirt, not a speck. Just smooth, clean skin and the faint scent of cologne that didn't belong to me. Something inside me cracked, but I kept my face neutral. That night, while she showered, I started checking our bank statements. There were little charges I didn't recognize. Uber rides, Venmo transfers, random coffee shops. Her phone bills showed longer calls and texts to Jay than to me. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Confrontation gives people room to lie, twist, cry, manipulate. What I needed was proof. And a plan, because I wasn't about to let her rewrite the story of how this ends. It was a Thursday morning when I opened my drawer and felt my heart drop. The envelope, our envelope, was gone. The one with $9,000 I had spent the better part of a year bleeding for. I stood there, still, like maybe it would reappear if I just stared hard enough. Then I tore the room apart, pulled every drawer, flipped the mattress, checked behind the bookshelf. Maybe I moved it. Maybe I was tired, maybe anything but what I was thinking. By the time Anna walked in that afternoon, the house looked like it had been ransacked. She blinked. "Whoa. What happened?" "The envelope," I said quietly. "The surgery money. It's gone." She widened her eyes, a little too dramatically. "What, are you sure?" "Maybe you put it somewhere else." I shook my head. "I always kept it in the drawer." "You know that." She joined the performance. Opened cabinets, peeked behind curtains, even looked inside the toaster like she was trying to win an Oscar. Then she paused and said, "What if someone broke in?" I stared at her. "Someone broke in. Stole only the envelope. Left everything else untouched?" She shrugged. "I don't know, babe. People are weird." Something in my chest curled up and died. Because in that moment, watching her fake confusion, I knew. But knowing it, truly letting that truth in, meant accepting that the woman I nearly destroyed myself to save had stolen from me. Lied to me. It meant that everything we built was a lie dressed up in good lighting and shared history. I didn't yell. Didn't accuse. I just nodded slowly. "Yeah, maybe someone broke in." The next day, when she went out for one of her walks, I drove to the hardware store, picked up a cheap indoor security cam, installed it in our bedroom, nestled in the corner behind the dresser. If I was going to confront her, I needed more than suspicion. I needed the truth to stare her dead in the face. 3 days. That's all it took. I was at the shop, halfway under a car, when my phone buzzed with a notification. Motion detected. Bedroom camera. I wiped the sweat off my forehead, thinking it was probably just sunlight shifting through the curtains. Still, I opened the app, and what I saw, it didn't break me. Not yet. It just hollowed me out. The footage loaded grainy at first, then clear. Jason, inside my bedroom, not knocking, not being let in. He used a key. Anna was already there. She wasn't startled. She laughed. Like it was funny. Like this was normal. She climbed up on the bed, legs folded like it was their shared space. Then she reached into the closet. Not my drawer, no. She had moved the envelope, hid it. She pulled it out casually like it was a sweater or an old book. Here it is, she said, tossing it onto the bed beside Jason. He whistled. Damn, $9,000, huh? She smirked. Told you. He's too busy playing savior to notice anything. Jason sat down beside her. His hand brushed her thigh like they'd done this 100 times. He said, let him pay for your new life, babe. Then leave him in the dust, she laughed again. That same stupid laugh I once thought was the best sound in the world. I didn't scream, didn't cry. I just sat there in the middle of the shop, under the smell of motor oil and sweat, staring at my phone like it had just told me someone died. And in a way, someone had, not her. Me. The version of me that believed in us, in her, he died that afternoon. And all that was left was a man who saw things clearly for the first time. I didn't text her. I didn't confront her. I just saved the footage. Backed it up twice because when this ends, I want her to see it every second. Every lie, I didn't scream. I didn't demand answers. I didn't even mention the video. Instead, I walked into our house that night like nothing had changed, even though everything had. She was on the couch, scrolling her phone. She looked up, smiled, and said, Hey, babe, you're home early. I kissed her on the forehead. Yeah, slow day. Then I went into the kitchen and made us both pasta. That's how it started, the performance. I played the part of loving husband so well, I could have won awards. Every day, I kissed her goodnight, asked about her day, did the dishes, folded laundry. I let her think she still had me. While I was quietly unspooling every string that tied us together, I opened a new bank account at a different branch, one she didn't know about. Started moving small amounts every few days, nothing noticeable. I pulled my name off the joint credit card, off the lease, called in a favor and got a short-term place under a friend's name. I booked my first therapy session 2 days after I watched that video, sat in a room with a woman I'd never met and said, I watched my wife cheat on me. I have it on camera, and I'm still pretending everything's okay. I broke down for the first time there. Not because I missed Anna, but because I didn't know who I was anymore. See, confronting her would have been messy. She'd cry, deny, maybe even twist it into my fault. She was good at that, but silence would echo. Silence would leave her wondering when the other shoe would drop, and why it never did. I didn't want revenge in the form of a screaming match. I wanted her to feel it in the quiet, to watch me vanish, like she never existed, and I wasn't going to give her a single warning. The hospital letter came in a pale blue envelope, like it was trying to look gentle while delivering a gut punch. Final reminder, Anna's surgery needed to be scheduled by the end of the month. After that, they'd move her to the non-priority list. She opened it at the table while sipping tea like it was just another bill. Then she looked up at me, all wide-eyed and pitiful. Do you think maybe you could borrow from someone? Or take out a loan or something? I blinked slowly. I'll see what I can do. And I meant that, just not the way she thought. Watching her sit there, pretending to panic, acting like she hadn't personally handed the money to her side piece, was a performance worthy of Broadway. She even wiped away a fake tear. I feel so bad. You've done so much for me already. I almost laughed. Almost. That night, she curled up in bed with a book she didn't read. I watched her screen light up under the covers. A text from Jay. Still good for tomorrow? Her reply, Yep, he's still clueless. I didn't flinch. Just reached for my phone and took a screenshot. Then another. And another. I already had the footage. But now I was documenting everything, text logs, deleted messages, even a photo of her handing Jason the envelope. Not for court. Not for blackmail for me. For the part of me that needed to know I wasn't crazy. That I wasn't just overreacting to a few missed hugs or extra walks. She wasn't just a liar. She was a thief in love's clothing. She stole my trust, my money, and my time, and still had the nerve to ask for more, but it was almost time. She just didn't know it yet. I left 2 days before her surgery deadline. Not with a bang. Not with a fight. Just silence. She was with Jason. I knew that from the GPS ping I'd quietly left on her keyring. I had a 3-hour window. More than enough. I moved like a ghost through the house we once called home. Packed only what was mine: clothes, tools, my dad's old watch. Left the rest. Let her keep the couch we bought together, the dishes we picked out at the flea market, the photo frame with our wedding picture. But on the nightstand, I left her something. A printed still from the bedroom camera, time-stamped, dated. Her mid-laugh. Jason mid-reach. I taped it neatly with a strip of painter's tape right where her phone usually charged. No note, no message. Just the image, a truth she could never deny or delete. I dropped my house keys off with my friend Mike, who agreed to hand them back to her when she came looking. Then I drove away, stopped at a gas station, and one by one deleted everything: our shared Netflix account, Spotify playlists, Google Calendar, blocked her number, blocked her email, changed mine. The first unknown call came around midnight, then another, then 10 more. I never picked up. By morning, the text started. Where are you? Please, we need to talk. Something's wrong. Are you okay? And finally, I need you, please, I'm scared. I read them in silence. No rage, no sadness. Just stillness. She was scared. Good. She should be. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't there to clean up the mess. I wasn't going to pay for her comfort with my dignity. I let the phone buzz on the counter while I sipped coffee in my new apartment. And I didn't reply, not then. Not ever. The silence didn't just echo. It caved her world in. I didn't go looking for updates. I didn't need to. They found me. A few weeks after I left, my friend Sam, who still lived in our neighborhood, messaged me out of the blue. Dude. Anna lost her job. HR said it was personal stress, but everyone knows something's up. Apparently, she started showing up late. Missing shifts? One day she broke down crying in the middle of a team meeting. People whispered about her erratic behavior. Some thought she was having a breakdown. They weren't wrong, and Jason? Gone. Ghosted her within days of getting the envelope. No texts, no goodbye, not even a blocked number. Turns out all he wanted was the money. She tried filing a police report about the missing funds. Claimed someone stole it, but when they asked where the money came from, she couldn't give a straight answer. Because she knew, saying, I stole it from my husband and gave it to my affair partner, wasn't going to fly. When her parents found out the truth, they cut her off. Her dad called me, voice low and ashamed. I just want you to know, we had no idea, and I'm sorry. I said thank you. That was it. Then came the email. It was long. Broken sentences. Spelling errors. Desperate. She wrote, I made a mistake. I was scared. I didn't mean for any of it to go this far. Please, we were good together. Please come back. I read it once, just once. Then archived it. She kept spiraling. Friends stopped answering her calls. The surgery was postponed, and the silence I left behind grew louder by the day. I didn't block her. I wanted her to see that I was still out there, living, thriving, quietly unreachable. She chose her path. I just stepped out of the way and let it collapse on its own. It had been a few quiet months since I left. The texts had stopped. The emails went silent. I was finally starting to feel like I could breathe again. Then I got a message from someone I didn't recognize. Her name was Claire. Subject line, about Anna. I think you deserve to know. I hesitated before opening it. My stomach twisted the way it used to during those final weeks, but curiosity won. Claire said she went to college with Anna. They weren't exactly friends, but they ran in the same circles. I heard what happened, she wrote. I don't want to meddle, but I've seen this pattern before, and I thought you should know. You weren't her first. I froze. According to Claire, Anna had a thing for men who took care of her. She'd seek out quiet, reliable guys, the ones who wanted to save someone, build a future, play the hero. Then, when she got stable, when the rent was paid, when her life looked shiny, she'd detach. Pull away, find chaos. Claire listed 2 names, both exes. One had co-signed a loan for her. She ghosted him after graduation. The other moved cities for her, only to find out she was cheating with a mutual friend. She always said they were too boring, that once they gave her what she needed, she was done. Claire ended the message with, I don't know why I'm telling you this. Maybe because I saw how hard you took it, and because you seemed like a good man who didn't deserve any of it. I sat there for a long time staring at the screen. Not angry, not even surprised, just gutted. Because I wasn't just betrayed. I was used. I wasn't her partner. I was a phase, a stepping stone, a disposable chapter in her self-serving story, and she had played me like a script she knew by heart. I thought walking away would bring peace, but peace didn't come right away. What came was emptiness, the kind that crept in around 3 a.m., the kind that made every silence in my apartment feel like an echo of everything I'd lost, or maybe never had. I kept going to therapy, but the sessions started to feel like a loop. Same stories, same pain, different words. I stopped replying to texts from friends, turned down invitations. I didn't want to talk, didn't want to pretend I was okay. I started drinking more than I should. A glass of whiskey became 2, then 3. Eventually, I was waking up hungover, missing morning meetings, pushing off deadlines at the shop. I didn't care. One night, I sat alone on the edge of my bed, her name already half-typed into a message. Not because I wanted her back, but because I wanted something. Closure, an explanation, just a flicker of, I don't know, human connection. I stared at that message for 20 minutes, felt the weight of it, felt how pathetic it would be to send it. Then I deleted it, got up, walked to the bathroom, and caught my own reflection. I didn't recognize the man looking back. He looked tired, hollow-eyed, a shell of the guy who once stayed up all night building a future for someone who never planned to stay. I collapsed onto the cold tile floor, and for the first time since it all happened, I cried. Not a single tear, not a stoic sniffle. I wept, ugly, loud, unfiltered. I grieved the version of me who believed in love without question, who thought loyalty guaranteed safety. And somehow, in that mess, in that puddle of grief and rage and regret, something cracked open. Not in a bad way, in a necessary one. It was the lowest I'd ever been. But it was also the moment I finally stopped holding on to a story that was never mine to begin with. A few weeks after that breakdown, I packed up what little I had and moved to a new city. No grand plan, no dramatic goodbye, just a quiet exit, again. This time for me. I found a job at a custom car shop tucked behind a gas station on the outskirts of town. They did more than just repairs, restorations, paint jobs, engine swaps. It was art, not just labor, and for the first time in a long time, I felt proud to get my hands dirty. On weekends, I dusted off my old Nikon from college, started taking photos again, cracked sidewalks, sunsets bouncing off chrome, strangers laughing over food trucks. Nothing fancy, just moments that reminded me the world still had beauty, even after everything. I started journaling, not for therapy, not for anyone to read, just for me. Pages filled with messy thoughts, ugly truths, and tiny wins. Didn't check her social media today. Got out of bed before noon. Made the best damn grilled cheese of my life. I began working out again, not to punish myself, but to feel strong, present. I set goals, small ones at first. Wake up at 8, finish a book, smile at someone in line, and slowly... Therapy stopped being about grief. It became about growth. I stopped needing to explain the pain, started learning how to live without it defining me. There came a day, I don't even remember when exactly, where I realized I hadn't checked her social media in weeks. Didn't care what she was doing, who she was with. She wasn't part of the story anymore. The silence that used to feel like a punishment now felt like peace. And that peace? It was louder than any closure she could have ever given me. It came, out of nowhere, a new email notification from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line was just my name, nothing else. For a second, I hesitated to open it. I'd built such a calm life since leaving her behind, but something told me this one deserved a read. Curiosity got the better of me. It was her. Anna. The message was long, rambling. like a dam had finally cracked open. She wrote about how everything had spiraled, said she'd been sick, something about stress-induced heart issues, bills piling up, no job, no real friends left. She blamed life, circumstance, even her upbringing. And when that didn't land, she pivoted. "Jason used me," she wrote. "He only wanted the money. He ghosted me right after. I was stupid. I thought he cared. I thought it was real." Then came the part that almost made me laugh. "I never stopped loving you. You were always the safe place. I just didn't see it until it was too late," she begged. For another chance, or at the very least, and a small loan to help her get back on her feet. Said she wanted to start over, even if it wasn't with me. Said she just wanted to be okay. I read every single word, not out of softness, not because I missed her, but because I wanted to see what people become when consequences finally catch up. And then, without even a flicker of hesitation, I moved the email to trash. No response, no reply, not even a scene. That was the closure, not a confrontation, not a final blow. Just silence, because nothing hurts someone like her more than being ignored by the person she used to control. She wanted me to see her drowning. I didn't throw her a rope. I just stepped back and let her drift, far from my life, far from my peace. People always expect some kind of revenge story. They want explosions, final showdowns, public humiliation. But the truth? I never got revenge. I just disappeared. And that, I've come to realize, might have hurt her more than anything else ever could. There's something uniquely cruel, poetic even, about silence. Not the angry kind, not the kind that waits for a response, but the kind that says, "You're not even part of the story anymore." She has to wake up every day knowing she destroyed the one person who would have stood by her forever, and that I didn't fight, didn't scream, didn't beg her to explain. I just left. Her world burned, and I didn't even bother to bring water or watch it crumble. I had nothing left to prove. Sometimes I wonder if she still scrolls through old photos, if she replays those last few weeks and tries to spot the moment I knew. If she stares at that printout I left on the nightstand and realizes what she lost. Not just a husband, but a version of herself that she'll never get back. But I don't dwell there for long. I don't wish her pain. I don't wish her happiness either. I just don't wish her anything. She's not mine to carry anymore. Healing didn't arrive like some big revelation. It was slow, quiet, boring even. But every day I grew lighter, less bitterness, more sleep, fewer memories that stung like fresh cuts, and now I can honestly say there's a peace in my chest that no apology could have delivered. She burned the bridge. I just never looked back. And for the first time in my life, that silence, it feels like freedom. Some people confuse sacrifice with stupidity. I don't anymore. I used to think that love meant giving until it hurt. That if I just stayed loyal, stayed kind, stayed present, it would eventually come back around. But I've learned something I wish I'd known sooner. Being someone's safety net doesn't mean they'll protect you when they fall. Sometimes they'll use you as a cushion to land on, then walk away like you were never there. People ask me if I ever got justice. No. Not in the way they mean, no court cases, no social media call-outs, no public shaming. But she got what was coming to her. Not because I punished her, because life did. Regret is a slow burn. You can't escape it. You can't drink it away or blame it on someone else forever. She has to live with the truth that the one person who would have stood by her in the darkest hours is gone. Not dead, not angry, just done. And me? I never needed revenge. I needed peace. And I found it. In quiet places, in new beginnings, in choosing myself. I don't wake up bitter. I don't check her socials. I don't replay that video in my head. She's not my story anymore. Just a chapter I've closed. And the final line? I didn't ruin her. I didn't expose her. I didn't drag her through the mud. I just left her. To live with what she ruined, all on her own. That's not weakness. That's growth. No dramatic endings, no raised voices, No revenge, just quiet strength, and the freedom to finally live a life that no longer includes her. That's the real ending, and honestly, it's better than anything I could have planned.